Hast front chaps, cameras rolling.
Bloody hell, Jake, boy, this is top notch. Could you get a quick photo just of this? Because I don't think I've ever had this before. We're rolling. Bloody hell, we're rolling. Guys, welcome. I'm here in London at a really exciting new space with Wilhelm Schmid, the CEO of Lange, dear friend of mine. Willem, good morning.
Good to see you, Justin.
How are you?
I'm good, actually. The sun is shining. No, it's good. It's good.
I think, honestly, if you squint your eyes, you could be sort of south of France out there at the minute. You didn't bring the Speedos, though.
No, I didn't.
I was twisting your arm to do this one in them, but you said no. You said, I'll do anything, but that's one thing I won't do.
That would have been a first one for sure.
Listen, Willem, tell us where we are. This is an exciting new space for the brand.
It's a small space, as you can see, but it's in the heart of London. It's a Mayfair. It's called the Borden House, which more known for the Alfred Dunhill Club. And we were just on the search to find a very English place, and I don't think it can get a lot more English than this place.
You know, we were saying before we started filming, I can remember being with you at the opening of the new Bond Street store. That was a store that was run by Wempe, but with you guys overseeing it. This location feels very much more like the Geneva location, which we've filmed at before, which is by appointment only. A few watches dotted around, but mainly a sort of environment to relax and communicate.
And it's meant to be. The idea is here to really have time, and time for yourself, not shared with others, and watches and somebody that you can talk to if you're interested in watches. So it's a very different concept to, let's say, the Harrods store, which is open, high traffic, people come in, go, and so on and so forth. So, but again, some people would prefer that sort of, you go in, you look interested, you sit down. If not, you move out. And other people like the privacy of a place like this and want to really spend some quality time here and have a deep dive into watches without interruption. So to please both sort of different customer requests, you need to have both different locations. And therefore, I think Harrods and here the new showroom at Borden House is a very nice pair of setups for England, for London, because that's the only 2 point of sales we have.
So we've got Harrods, which is that sort of walk-in experience.
Absolutely.
Should you wish. We've got this.
Exactly.
Only. And what are the challenges now for you as a business, for a brand, to manage this? Because this it does take on another level of complexity.
It's new. Everything new, as you know, means there's no routine. Routine will develop over time, and if you don't have a routine, you have to work a lot harder. I think the first is to establish the place as the place for collectors. If you want to spend time with somebody very knowledgeable, sitting down, talking watches, you need to know. If you don't know, you will not find, because, as I said, it's not a street location. It's not. There's no signs of logos.
You're not stumbling across it.
Not
when
really.
you come for your coffee and your bespoke suit from Dunhill.
So I think the team has to work on this and how to connect these two dots, how to make sure that if you want this, you go to Harrods. If you want the other thing, you come here. And I think that will deserve some time and activities.
Willem, I just realised what I didn't ask you was what you're wearing on the wrist, and I know that's something that a lot of people at home will be wondering. What have you got on today?
Since almost October, I'm wearing the platinum Lange 1 perpetual calendar with the black dial. Really love it. Yeah, really love it. Really. And there is a bit of moon today. The other day there was a new moon. So you just see the blue sky throughout the day. It gives a nice touch to the watch because it does change permanently.
And it is one of the most striking moon phases out there in its punchiness, its colour, especially on that black dial.
But because it does change. It's the light blue because the day-night indication as well. So the light blue, and specific is new moon. I mean, you have that very blue, which is you can't see it here, but if we would look outside, that's. You don't see dark sky, you see a blue sky. Yep. And then at night it's dark, and then you have again the little stars, which of course now you don't have because you wouldn't see them if you go outside.
And I've got my Lange 1 on, which I was very excited to show you. And this is a fairly recent watch for me. White gold, 38.5mm, the traditional Lange 1 size, 101027X, painted dial. It's a watch
quite rare.
I'm absolutely loving.
I can understand that. Look, it's 30 years in about 5 months from now on.
Okay. And you're here to tell us. You're here today to tell us a little bit more about the novelty.
Not really.
You got them in the pockets, no? I thought you had them.
No, just this one, and that's from the 24th of October last year. Still exciting, but not what we're going to do later on this year.
Okay, so we've got a lot to unpack here. We've got anniversaries all over the place.
Just 2. We had a lot, but only 2 that we really sort of
celebrating.
Yeah.
And we've had some wonderful data graph earlier on in the year that a lot of people remember from Watches and Wonders. And Lange has been, I think, making the ultimate power play in recent times, which is coming out with 1 watch last year or 2 watches this year.
It's 100% more than last year.
It's 100% more than last year, but it's 150,000% less than most of the other competitors out there, if you can call them that. What have we got to come this year? And I think it's a story that goes hand in hand with your production challenges.
It's as I said, we're not a marketing company, you know us by now. The heartbeat of the company is determined by the manufacturer and their ability to work on watches. Because most of the time when we come with a new watch, it's a new movement. It means efficiency of the watchmaker that worked on an older model is gone, because now he or she has to be trained on the new movement, which usually means you go down in efficiency, down in output. And that's the way we have to structure our year. It's not that we run out of ideas, but we definitely have the bottleneck of producing the watches where we anyhow have a waiting list for, plus training new watchmaker on a new movement. And to fine-tune this without having a huge delay between the launch of a watch and the first watch going to a happy wrist is a proper challenge for us.
Is your greatest challenge as a business managing people and the expertise to deliver watches to clients?
On both sides, don't underestimate the complexity in the manufacturing. A watchmaker loves to minimize risks. Anything you bring in means you increase risk, and they are potentially risk adverse. So you have to deal with this on the one hand. And on the other hand, and I will not get tired in explaining that, it's not a marketing story. It's just the way we structure our business, the way we run the manufacturing. And even there are now 600 people working in it, there's a limit to what they can do a day. And some days are better than others.
We've got 3 watches here, Wilhelm, that we have to touch on. Now, these have been handpicked by your good self. First up, we've got a Lange one here, but a moon phase.
Yes.
Rose gold moon phase. We are expecting to see something from you guys later on in the year. Are we right in assuming that there might be something from this particular family?
I would be very surprised if not.
I know we're not going to get very much out of you today in that respect, but I just thought there's going to be a Lange one.
Really. But I think everybody knows that the 24th of October,
that's it.
Every year, at least usually our clients are quite attentive on that day because they know we're going to launch something.
23rd of October, keep an eye on the social.
Exactly. So usually there's a little hint now and then the 24th of October. I think at least, I'm now 14 years in the company. For 14 years, the 24th of October was an important date. So this year it's the 30th anniversary of that important date. So rest assured, again, it'll be different to what we did at Watches and Wonders, logically. But how many watches do you know, Justin? And you are an expert.
Don't put me on the spot like that.
Yeah, but how many watches do you know that survived 30 years, still bestsellers, still untouched in design, unchanged in dimensions? The only thing we changed was in 2015. We gave it a new movement, which is quite logical because, as we started, we couldn't build our own hairspring and things like that. And of course, for the watch that represents you the best, you also want to make sure that what is in the movement is what represents you the best. So we had to give it a new movement, but the rest is unchanged.
I can think of a few sports watches that haven't changed over the years, but very few dress watches. And that's an interesting point. I can't think of many dress watches, because this is a dress watch, quintessential dress watch, that hasn't changed very much at all, as you say. But sports watches, I can think of a few. Can you think of another dress watch?
Actually, I can't think of any watch, even the sport watches, because they have been changed.
They have slight adjustments in size. We saw a 1 millimeter increase at one of our friends down there over the crown.
That's yours is from the mid 90s, I would say, 97, 98. Your watch, you put the one that somewhere here is one, a Lange one. You put them next to each other. There's no change. There's no in dimensions, in the way the design is. There may be a different color, and what people underestimate, because we don't produce our dials ourselves, over time, the supplier may have changed, and then you may see, the thickness of the print or things like this that may have changed because of the tooling, but that's not a design change imposed by us. It's a design change, due to usage of tools or things like this.
That leads me to a question that has been raised by a group of friends of mine out there who I'm gonna, like many of you watching, I'm sure, part of groups of collectors and enthusiasts. They've submitted a few questions to me, which I want to. The face just dropped. I'm going to thread a few of their questions in because I really would love to cover them. They've talked about, and we've seen this for sure, the change in collector tastes to smaller watches generally, or shaped watches, or are we going to see Lange come with something of similar size to this in due course, 38 millimeters, 38.5 or smaller?
Again, nice try, Justin.
Yes. Can you see I'm getting that?
Yeah. Look, unfortunately, it's not my first rodeo. So.
Okay, so nothing smaller than 38.5 right now. Although we've got a Saxonia thin at 37.
No, we were never following any trends in size, as you know, because usually the size is determined by the number of parts that will go into the movement, plus the water tightness, robustness, blah blah blah. That will determine the size, the dimensions of our watches. And there's always a huge fight between the designers and the constructors, because the constructors want to have it gigantic to make sure it works perfectly. The designers want it as slim as possible, and usually they find a good compromise. So we never followed any trend in sizes, and we will not.
Okay.
So what we launch is what we think is in line with the family, the design family, and the DNA of our Lange Söhne. And we would never compromise on thickness or thinness. If the flip side of that coin would be a less robust watch. Yes. I know for a dress watch, robustness doesn't come to mind, but we like our watches watertight, at least to 3 ATM. We like them to go through the hammer test and all that. I mean, they're watched to be used to be worn, and not like put it in a safe and for God's sake don't touch it.
Yeah. A watch that ticks a lot of the boxes for me when I think of the brand is this, the 1815 chronograph.
Yeah.
We've talked about size, and before we started filming we were talking about size. The Lange one 38.5 here, and this is 40.
Yes.
But actually on the wrist there is a real difference in presence, even with the black dial. What is your favorite dial execution? Because this is an argument I have, a debate maybe with friends.
Yeah.
Which way do you go? From
I'm a huge fan of black white. Sorry, it's just me.
Is black more formal though?
I don't know. I think it actually blends in nicely. I think that watch you can wear with a short or with a tuxedo, and it would not look odd.
No, agreed.
On either or.
Agreed.
No, I believe. For me, I like platinum. I know it's heavy, but I just like the weight. I think weight for me is nothing. At least not if it's grams on the wrist. That's not a problem for me. And I like the combination of black and white. I admit. But again, don't forget, we do not design watches for my taste. And if so, I would have a hard time with Stony. Yeah. So no, that's not the idea.
Do you speak to trusted collectors, enthusiasts of the brand? Do you ever speak to them to get their thoughts on maybe what the future design looks like?
No. And again, a customer is very good, a client is very good in explaining to you what he or she wants now. But if I ask you any idea what you want to have in 3 years' time, you probably you wouldn't come up with a proper answer, which is normal for me. If you ask me, that's exactly the same for me if I leave my field of expertise. So that's where Tony and Tino and the designers and myself, we have to anticipate what our clients may like in a few years, and so far it worked out not too bad.
Yeah. One of the most obvious things for me about this is you turn this over, you look at this movement, this is people have talked about it in far better terms than I have, or been able to express it in better terms than me. But this is a little world and architecture in here. This is a cityscape.
Yeah.
But with that comes the challenge of then servicing.
Yeah.
Some say it can be expensive to service. What is the Lange Söhne position on servicing, and how do you fit that into making watches at the same time? Because that can't be easy.
Yeah. Look, first of all, there are three answers to it. Servicing isn't like servicing. Let me start with polishing. We don't polish. We first close all the dents and scratches with the same material by using a laser, and then we polish to give it back the original design. By doing so,
across all materials, is that?
Across all materials.
Not just
black. No. All materials. So if you have any case, we will weld all the dents and scratches, and then we will polish, because you can't exactly close it. There's always something which is on top, and then you're going to close it. By logic, that's a lot more work than just until you reach the bottom of the scratch, and then you hope it's good. On the other hand, you lose quite a bit of material if you polish, because polishing means you polish all the material away until you reach the bottom of the dent or the scratch. So by nature, the one has to be more expensive, and it's not comparing apples with apples.
Yeah.
That's the first one. The second thing is, most of our watches will come back to Glashütte. First of all, sending watches around the globe in today's world is not as easy as it used to be. So there's a time that we can't work on the watch because it's somewhere stuck in customs, in transportation. And trust me, that can take easily 2-3 weeks from America to us, for example, and then 2-3 weeks back. So there's not a lot of weeks left for us to work on a watch. And the costs are also not to be underestimated. And the third element is, if we do a revision of the movement, so if you send back your watch in time, let's say 7-8 years before it comes to a standstill, there's a fixed price to it, and you know what to expect because you can read that on our website. It says exactly what it will cost you, and the process is very easy. The watchmaker will take the watch out, will completely disassemble it, will completely clean it, will check all the points, will lubricate it new, grease it up, bring it together, same test like with a new watch, and then you'll get it back. Trust me, after sales for us, I can build in the same time a new watch. So it's not like we charge. Even some people believe that what we do, it's not even break even.
Let's be clear. You're as obsessive about servicing
as
you
difference.
are about making.
It's the same watchmaker.
That's an interesting view.
It's the same watchmaker. There's no difference, and that's why I always emphasize on the fact, guys, bring your watch for service. It's a lot less expensive than if they come to a standstill, because then the process is obviously different. You send your watch in, they do a quote, and the quote usually means something is broken in the movement. It's not in our hands because we use grease and oil, and that will age over time. So if you don't catch that oil in time, what's happening, the whole oil or the grease will become hard. It will collect particles. I don't need to tell you what it means if you put something rotating into an environment where you have a hard grease that collects metal particles. That's grinding. And then, of course, we have to replace these parts, where if you send it in time, you don't have to replace the parts. And logically, the costs are different.
What is your guideline? What is your advice to owners?
It depends a little bit on where you live. Quite frankly, I think if you are permanently living and wearing a watch in a subtropical climate, I would suggest 6 years, 7 years. If you don't wear it regularly and you're more in a moderate climate, like here in Europe or in America, I would say 7-8 years.
Okay.
But in doubt, send it in. It is less expensive than if you wait until it breaks, because then, as I said, we have to replace the parts, and these parts are not inexpensive. And then the whole thing with height adjustments and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more hours that will go into the renovation of the movement.
Preempt it rather than fix the problem.
It's like, I never. If you have a car, You would never run your engine until it breaks and then tell them, please do an oil change.
Yeah.
You never do that. You know, with watches, you think that's normal, but it's grease in these watches, in every watch, by the way. Yeah. And that will harden over time. That's the limiting factor.
Before we come to our final quickfire series of questions I've got for you that are mainly outside of the watch world, but I think people will appreciate the context. But we're going to come to the Zeitwerk, because the Zeitwerk is a watch that I absolutely love. One day would love to own. It is so different from anything else that Lange Söhne have ever made, and from anyone else in the industry. And it's a nice example of the point you raised earlier, that when Lange comes out with a new watch, it also has to create a new caliber, which in this particular case is an absolute nightmare.
Look, it's a lot of power.
Yeah.
And again, it looks like a simple watch, but it's like hands are very, very little in weight. A disc is a lot more weight. It's like a small car and a big car. You know, a small car, small engine, small brakes. Big car, big engine, big brakes, and then you know you have a lot more friction and wear, because it's permanently accelerating and stopping, accelerating and stopping. That's why the remontoire system is instrumental, and also the size of the watch is instrumental, because you need quite a big power source to operate the remontoire system, to give it that power every minute. And sometimes, you know, at 24th at midnight, it even has to run the date ring in this case. So a lot of power that you need to make it all jumping and not just slowly and over an extended period of time.
I love this grey dial execution. The date has been an addition in recent times around the perimeter of the dial. Has that been successful for you?
It's been hugely successful. I think that's probably the best seller of the Zeitwerk right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, and look at the case back. Right, Willem, there we go. Listen, quick fire questions. What are you most excited about at the moment? What are you most excited about at the moment, inside work or outside of work? In fact, give us both. Within the watch world and Lange Söhne, what are you most excited about? And then outside of the watch world, what are you most excited about?
We have a very big year ahead of us, you know, with the Watches and Wonders, and now the 24th of October. We're still in fine-tuning our distribution strategy and model. I don't have a boring day in my life right now, and I have to say I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Dealing with challenges is our job, staying agile, and I like, for a fact, and probably I shouldn't say it, but the markets are getting tougher, which is the right time for good brands. You know, I mean, everybody can swim if the weather is nice, but very few can do that if the conditioning are hardening, and they're definitely hardening. So I like that a lot. Yeah. It just helps you to keep your company fit and agile. And outside, look, it's my son is back from Barcelona. I think it's the last time in my life that he's going to stay with us for a few weeks before he moves on to his next big endeavor, which is work, hopefully.
Is he currently employed or seeking employment?
No, he's not finished yet. I think by the end of the month it's the official ceremony and all that, and then he will hunt for a new job, which ain't easy at the moment, as you all know. But no, I'm a very happy person with work and private.
Will he be seeking a job in the watch world, or is that not for him?
I wouldn't say. No, he's interested in that.
There's a few father and son duos out there in the watch world I can think of. Will you be putting your name on a dial in the future?
No, for sure not.
Okay.
I want him to find his way of
way.
passion.
Yeah.
He loves watches, he loves cars, he loves other stuff as well. He is a big sportman, so I'm sure he will find its way.
Sport? I know it's something we've always talked about because you've got links to South Africa, as do I, and you love your sport. If there was a sport that you could watch for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's very hard.
What's the one sport?
I'm more into executing sport, not watching sport. I've never been to a stadium. Look, if my knees and my legs and my back would have endless life, I would continue my running, but unfortunately that's not the case. So I had to stop running because of these damn knees. Swimming, I'm back to swimming. I love my golf. I have to say.
What do you play off, sir?
A bad handicap, you know. They
Scratch?
say no, rather 23 and a bit.
Who wins between you and Mr. Rupert when you play
He.
at Leopard Creek? Leopard Creek. He does. Right, if he's watching.
right, left, and centre. No. I don't. You know, it's time-consuming, addictive, and I love it. And I can play it with Yvonne, my wife.
Yeah.
And with friends. I love the social part of golf, but I also, you know, it's just killing me that little white thing stays there and I can't hit it all the time as I want it to
It's
hit.
not a million miles from watchmaking because you guys are obsessively chasing perfection. Golf, you can never be perfect.
No, you can.
But you're endlessly chasing it.
Exactly.
And I love golf as well. It's
Exactly.
a life obsession of mine.
Yeah.
Tailoring, final question. People always ask me when they see you, they're like, oh, he's a well-dressed man. Where do you go for your suits? And we talked about Dunhill, but where do you typically go for your...
You know, I do have a few stuff from Alfred Dunhill as well, but generally speaking, I love my Atolini stuff. I'm wearing that for, I don't know, 25, 30 years.
Really?
And, you know, it's so expensive that I decided not to change my weight.
So you've got to keep the
Cannot
same shape.
afford it.
You've
Cannot
got to keep
afford
the same shape, or else the wardrobe goes out
Cannot
the window.
afford it. So it's a very good way of controlling yourself a little bit. No, I had to realize I rather buy one thing very expensive that I really like, of high quality, because, you know, over the lifespan it's probably less expensive than go down every fashion road and avenue and buy disregard of the quality. If it comes to clothes, I like well-made stuff of good quality. That I think is my...
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert, but typically a softer shoulder, a more Italian, more relaxed
Yeah,
European
I like,
vibe, not a British, sharp, hard shoulder sort of vibe.
I don't have that actually, no.
Okay.
No.
And I'm sorry, I can't leave this interview without asking about a car. What are you excited about car-wise? Are you hunting anything at the moment? What you got your eye on? I know there's always something. I've seen you in that beautiful 911 at the Concours de Eleganza. I hope I said that right. Over the years. What's and the Bristol, sorry, what's next?
Yeah. No, I'm actually done with it, believe it or not.
No more?
I have 6 cars. It used to be 4, now it's 6 cars. And I think I have a very nice collection that serves my purpose. You know, I'm a driver, not so much a polisher. So these cars have been used, and I know I have something for everything. So at the moment, I would struggle to find a car because I would need to replace one of them, sell one, buy one. And at the moment, I do struggle with identifying the one that I can easily let go.
That's always a nice position, though. When you look at the collection, you say, "I'm not sure there's anything I can say goodbye to."
No, it's for different reasons, but no, I think I've reached now. I have everything that I like, and there's nothing at the moment that I think, oh, I can have that better. You know what I mean? There's another car that has fulfill the same purpose, but that's, you know, will give me additional. But and as I said, I'm a driver. I'm not so much. You know, I'm not a collector of. It's an investment.
Yeah.
These cars need to work. They need. You know, it has to be fun to drive them, and other than that, I'm not interested.
I can remember when we were at an event years ago, you said, when I was in the car world, I was into watches and buying lots of watches, and your wife was causing, there was some troubles. And then when you were in the watch world, you were buying lots of cars.
Yeah. I'm still buying watches, believe it or not. You know, it's not like I ran out of this one, but no, it's as I said, cars. You know, I bought this beautiful Fraser Nash Mille about a year ago, and now that was a car I was always after. But they are so rare, so they very rarely come to market.
Less than 10 of that model that you've got?
I think they produced 11, but only 2 that I would fit in, because they moved the spare wheel from. It's usually on the right hand, in the right hand front bonnet, and in my car it's in the boot, and therefore it has a bit more leg room. Otherwise, you know, that frame needs to go somewhere. Yeah. And these cars were designed, obviously, for people a lot shorter than I.
Oh, God. We've got to stop talking because you've just made me think of another question. One final question for you. You mentioned the fact that it's the watch world and luxury, and actually every aspect of our lives is coming into a more challenging time. Is there a brand out there, be it a watch brand or otherwise, that you think are doing a really good job navigating difficult conditions out there at the moment?
I tell you what, every company that without losing their DNA and without losing the people that they have hired, every company with these two preconditions, sales through heavy weather, I compliment.
Yeah.
Because these are the two things that are so easy, fire people or do silly stuff because you go for short term and not for long term. So that's why I would never name a company, but if you look around, you will find companies that are good in these two categories, and that's what I like.
Good man.
That means good management.
Agreed. How do people engage with Lange Söhne at this new location? Is it a case of calling to book an appointment, or is it
I would suggest so, because then we can really accommodate what you want to see, because obviously we will not have all watches here all the time, but with the stock at Harrods and the stock here and a way to change, I'm sure we can find a way to make you happy. There's no good reason to come here and then by accident only 3 watches on display, but none of them is the one you want to see. So that's why I would recommend, but again, we defined very early, we're not one of these companies that by appointment only. We never did it, never, because we may not help you with the watch that you want to buy right now, because it's not here, it's not on stock, or this is sold out. That can happen. But what I want to achieve is you have a good time here. You don't leave us and think, oh, what a waste of time.
Wilhelm, thank you so much as always.
Thank you.
Cheers, boy. Have a lovely day.
Good to see you. Good
Thanks,
to see
guys,
you.
as always. Please let us know your thoughts below in the comments, and see you next time.